it has never been as important as it is now to make sure you have enough photos in your listings. And I'm going to tell you all about that here on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John with Flippin' Ain't Easy. And we've been making videos, with the podcast, the eBay Power Hour podcast, and on my own channel here, talking about AI and the importance of creating a quality listing. We're talking title, item description, your price, and your photos are something that are very important as well. I've been recently working on my photos, trying to develop a way, and I made a video a few days ago telling you where I'm putting a stock looking photo with my background removal, and then I'm using a nice little backdrop for the remaining photos, so that I'm making Google happy, but I'm also making my buyers happy that want to see the actual item. And maybe in the past they were thinking they were looking at a stock photo. Now eBay is putting more importance on photos than ever. Now rewind back a couple years ago, eBay gave us the ability to show up to 24 photos in our listings, and a lot of people were like, that's just overkill. They didn't quite get it, and most buyers aren't going to go and just sort through 24 photos. But I think we were short-sighted at the time, and even I was making that assessment that it shows you that eBay wants you to use more photos, but in my mind, a lot of people aren't going to be using 24 photos. So what does this all mean? But the short-sighted part of us weren't looking ahead to the technology that eBay already had in place, and that is the AI. And you guys also saw another video I put out, so you might want to check out the video right up here. But that video talks about how very soon eBay is going to be updating their app, first on the iOS and then eventually the Android, where the ability to just simply take a few photos, put them into a listing, and then AI will determine everything else for you. That's the item specifics, your item description, and I believe even the price, right? Which is kind of scary. I don't want them, using AI to determine my price. But the technology is here, guys, and eBay is trying to push the idea of more photos equals more data. More data gives the AI a more accurate chance to figure out what you're selling. And then that technology works. Like many of you, I received this email message from eBay only a few minutes ago, and it's titled, Understanding the New Requirements for Building New Sneaker Listings. Now this talks specifically about sneakers, but bear with me here. The email says, showcasing your sneakers in the most accurate, authentic way possible can make or break a sale. That's why starting October 2023, you'll be required to add at least 5 photos. That's a requirement now. 5 photos when creating new sneaker listings. And it says what you need to know. By adding more photos to your listings, you'll likely see an increase in customer satisfaction and a decrease in significantly not as described rates. So your INADs, they call them SNADs, but most of us know them as INADs. eBay is trying to say that by adding more photos, you're giving the buyer a better idea of what they're buying, rather than just having one photo of maybe your shoe or item from a particular angle. So the next bullet point goes on to say, sellers using third-party platforms won't be impacted by this change. Most of us aren't. Goes on to say, any new with box listings that match an item in our product library are excluded from this change and only requires 1 photo to list. So I believe that's utilizing the UPC code, which will then allow eBay to use their photo library for that listing. And then it says, no action is required from you for active listings, since this only applies to new listings. Now, if anything that I've learned is that as the algorithm changes, as eBay implements new things, yes, you might have some older shoes that has under 5 photos. But I think at some point, eBay is going to maybe change the way those shoes are ranked in best match search, So you might want to update those as soon as you can. Now, it says we will continue to make improvements to add new features that may help increase your sneakers sales. So that's the message that we all receive. We should have all received, whether you sell shoes or not. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, these are sneakers. What does that have to do with me? Well, eBay usually starts somewhere. And so in this case, they're starting with sneakers. Sneakers, you got watches, you got baseball cards, you have, or collectibles like that. All those different types of items that eBay has been pushing. I would assume they're going to be focusing these new requirements with those categories first. But just know that at some point, this will evolve into your category at some point down the road, where eBay will say, unless your item is in our catalog, you are going to be required to put up this many photos, probably at 5. And the reason being behind this, and this is based on all the research that I've done, is that it's going to be more helpful to AI to have more photos in your listing so that AI can understand and have a better representation of what you're trying to sell if you're using that feature. And eventually, I think all of us will be listing this way, where we just upload photos and the work is done for us. I think eBay wants that. I think as the hiccups are ironed out, of course, AI tends to overrepresent your item sometimes, really fluff it up to be something more than it is. But once AI works itself out and they get this technology down, and it may not seem very good right now, but as we get going, my thought is that down the road, eBay is going to implement this to where that's how we list. And it's going to require more data, and more data, if you're just using photos, means more photos. And to be honest with you guys, I think the algorithm's been looking at how many photos you place in a listing and really giving those listings a little bit more weight. Whereas many, many years ago, it didn't matter how many photos you put in there. But I think it's good for the buyer experience. They can see, give them an idea of what they're looking at, by utilizing different angles, zooming into any imperfections, any features of the item. I think does help, because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I think buyers need as much data as they can, because many of them, as we know, don't read. So hopefully this message gets to you well. I'm doing some listing right now, as it turns out, for some shoes that I picked up at yard sales over this last weekend. And it's just one of those things where I'm already adding like 10 to 12 photos to my listings. So going forward, best practices really dictate that you start adding more photos. I would do at least 5 if you're not doing so already, because that seems to be the way eBay is moving. And I don't think in a year from now you're going to want to have to go back to these listings. But if you're one of those sellers that just list it and just say, you know what, I'll just deal with it when it sells, you're not going to want to feel like going back and taking new photos of something that's been sitting around forever. So get the photos, up to 5 at least if you can. That's my tip for you guys. But having to change the way you do things to adapt to eBay is yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.